it. We're Arsenal forever. We are Arsenal. From to Wembley. We love Arsenal.
Hello, welcome to FTB Sports. I'm your host, Brezzy. I'm joined with Mike, the comedy Mike. And today we will go in all GunSlingerz. And we are talking about Arsenal, of all things.
Good evening, everyone at home, all you gunslingers.
Oh, and we've got Mr. King joining us as well.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Not bad, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad.
Good. So, how are you feeling about tomorrow then?
The silence is deafening.
Yeah, I'm a bit hesitant myself with tomorrow's game. I'm half and half. My heart says yes, we're gonna win it, but my head's like, realistically, you know.
I think if you look at it in the way that normally that team we've got is better than their team, so therefore it should overcome. But the difference is we're talking about Arsenal, and how often do they not overcome when they've got a better team throughout? And I think that's the problem. It's believing whether we can actually pull it off or whether the other Arsenal turn up.
Yeah, no, totally agree. And I think Mr. King was talking about it yesterday in his stream with obviously the Nigerian Englishman. Was saying about obviously tomorrow's game. So, Mr. King, do you think we're going to win?
Well, yeah, I still would put us as favourites. Just based on the quality that we've got throughout the team. However, they do have a good home record. They have knocked out some decent teams in Leicester and Rangers, probably more so Leicester. Okay, Leicester had some injuries, when they went into that game. But look, Leicester are no one's mugs. So, I think they've only dropped 2 points at home all season. Obviously, in their league, you have to call into question the quality of the league compared to ours. But look, I'm not going into that game just thinking, all we need to do is turn up. And I sure as hell hope those players aren't doing that either. Or the manager, because I think they've shown their quality. Any team that's got this far in the competition is there for a reason. I think I want to say I'm optimistic, or I'm trying to be optimistic, but not optimistic for being optimistic's sake. Just trying to keep a lid on the expectations that I've got for this game.
I think also in this competition, surprisingly, you mentioned their home record, but they've done all the hard work on the away legs. Like, I think it was, did they draw at Leicester and then beat Leicester at the King Power?
Yeah.
Put them out. And then with Rangers, they put Rangers out at Ibrox. So in this competition, they've actually done the stuff on the away leg, and you could say they've got the away goal now, so they've come to England or Britain again and done the hard work, and now they can defend if they wanted to. I don't think they will, but I think also they've put a shift in, and now that the onus is on us, and we've got to make sure we can defend.
I think there's a thing as well. This is going to sound a bit. Sorry, carry on.
No, go on. I'm done.
I was going to say, it's going to sound a bit weird, but I mean, you would fancy yourself defending a lead at home in a general sense. So I think, as crazy as this might sound, maybe them scoring that last minute goal could have actually favoured us in the sense that, at home, you would favour yourself to score an attack. And the fact that now they're going to sit back and defend and almost be comfortable, I don't think that really favours them, to be honest.
No.
I think they'd want to back themselves to score. I think that's from what I can see of them. They're pretty decent going forward, but So yeah, I think we've got reasons to be optimistic, but we've really got to turn up. And I said yesterday, I really think it's the first 15 or 20 minutes are crucial. That's when I want to see a score. I think, and I really do feel we should go for 2 goals, not 1 goal, because I think 2 goals quickly psychologically leaves them needing to score 3 goals and looking or facing what might seem an insurmountable task. So I think if we can put them to the sword in the first 15 or 20 minutes, get a goal or 2, go 2-0 up before half time, then things look good.
Yeah.
We're not notorious good starters, though, are we?
Yeah.
This is my next question. It's going to say, it's like, obviously we need to open them up quite quickly and obviously, create as much chances as possible. Obviously, with the selections that we've got, who would the top 4 you'd want to play? So who's your striker, your cam, and your 2 left and right wingers?
Personally, I'd like to see Pepe and Martinelli, because I think when we turn it on with moving the ball quickly and we can interchange, because both wingers can change over and they're going to be hard to mark, because I think that they're quite a man marking team. And then I like Saka in the middle. I think personally he'll play ESR, but I like Saka because he can sort of be the glue between the 2. And then we've got Laka up front, and if he has to hold the ball up, he's got pace either side. So my 4 would be Pepe, Saka, Martinelli across there with Laka at the front, so they can interchange. And also, if they're going to man mark, those guys will make it a nightmare for them all night, because they've got such good movement. And I think it's a mistake, although I think Arteta will play Uber on the left. I've got a sneaky feeling he'll play Uber on the left.
I think he's still doubtful about starting. If I'm honest with you, yeah, I don't think he's flown yet. I'm not 100% sure. But I do remember them saying that he's doubtful. So is Odegaard.
Right, okay. Well, I think ESR's okay and Saka's supposed to be okay.
Yeah, they're both.
Maybe he'll do that.
Mr. King?
I was really hoping Odegaard would be back for this game. That was the noise I was hearing earlier in the week as well. For me, I would have nailed him in that number 10 position. I think definitely Martinelli earned his right to start, and I think his energy and Lacazette's together works really well. They get in defenders' faces. They don't give any quarter, but they've also got quality on the ball as well. Yeah. They were a handful against Sheffield United, and I think in order to enact the strategy that I'm speaking of like really kind of going at them early on and at a high intensity level, those two for me are vital, absolutely vital. Martinelli on the left, cutting inside, Lacazette up front. Pepe, I would probably go with on the right. It's a really difficult one, because I think Saka played well in the number 10 position. He played really well in the number 10 position against Sheffield United. But I really want to see ESR come back. The thing is, do we need that bit of experience that Pepe's got, obviously playing at a higher level and just being like kind of an elder statesman? Yeah. Would I put Saka on the right again, cutting inside, and ESR as a number 10? Or would I start Pepe with his quality on the right and then play Saka or ESR as a number 10? Another option could be to play ESR as a number 8 next to Partey. I mean, look, we need to attack, right? So just get them all on the pitch. That's something I've mulled over as well, because ESR does have that energy and that high intensity as well, and he's good at winning the ball back. In any position on the pitch. So, you know, you could put him there as well. That's the biggest quandary for me is getting ESR and Saka and Pepe on the pitch, because I think they need to be on the pitch as well as Martinelli and Laka.
Yeah.
That's very attacking. That's
Both
like
of us.
That's what we need to do, right? We're not gonna go through without scoring a goal. So, you know,
But they're going to press high. That's the only worry I've got, because if they press us high and we're not going to offer some protection, because if we do have, say, ESR as a number 8, you've only got Partey to protect those back 4. And I think it's worse if we pick an attacking team and then go a goal behind, rather than picking a slightly more defensive team and just be impatient. If we go 1 down in the first quarter of an hour, we've still got the game to go and to get back into it. So we, you know, if we attack from the beginning and get our goals, then it'll change completely. But Arsenal is Arsenal, and there's still the chance that we can let a goal in either early on or late on. So I'd like to see some sort of protection still for those back 4, but try and get the most attacking team we can.
Yeah.
So, talking about youth, what do we feel about Balogun potentially now almost signing a deal?
I think it's good. I think it's been a long time coming, and there must be a lot of work that Edu's done on this. I think he's been talking to him, and it looks like Arteta's been talking to him as well. And he is an Arsenal lad at the end of the day, and I think he wants to stay. But it just depends if people are going to turn his head, because he could have signed a pre-agreement by now, and he hasn't done. And Arteta's been confident all the way through, so I can think it's a good thing. But I start then thinking about what's going to happen with Nketiah, who's another young lad, because I think there might be a decision there whether they've decided to put Nketiah in the shop window and let him go in the summer. But what I think you need to do first is actually sign him on. Because he's coming to the end of a deal, so we're not going to get much money if he's going to come to the end of his deal and be able to sign fairly soon. So we need to put him down to a 4-year deal, and then sell him and tie Balogun down to a deal and keep him, if you see what I mean.
Yeah. Mr. King, I think, I mean, you've had a fair few conversations regarding, obviously, this. You have your own opinions on about, obviously, Balogun and Eddie. Want to elaborate on those?
Yeah, I think first of all, I'm delighted that Balogun signed. You know, I think watching him at youth level, his record at youth level is exceptional. You know, so you can see he's an exceptional talent. I was really impressed with in the Europa League games that he played earlier in the season. Now, look, you know, it was against lesser opposition, but I mean, this guy was coming out of the youth team and going into the first team, and he was having an impact, you know, a significant impact in a number of those games. And I know it's a bit early to make a comparison, but invariably I've tried to compare what I've seen in Balogun and what I've seen in Nketiah. I think Nketiah is a great fox in the box striker. Nketiah strikes me as someone that in our system would need another striker. You know, I don't remain convinced that he has the physical attributes to play as a lone striker, and I don't see the quality in him to command the manager changing the system to get the best out of him. So I think when I look at Balogun, I see more of a all-round game. I see someone who's fairly strong on the ball, who is fairly mobile, has good technical ability, can shoot, use both of his feet, has good vision, you know, can thread passes as well. So I think when you're playing as a striker, up front on your own. You need that all-round game. You know, you need to be able to do a lot of things very well. And I think when I look at Nketiah, I see a great finisher. You know, I see a good finisher if he's in the right position and if he gets the right service. But I look at Balogun as someone, as a player who has more of the ability to create something on his own. You know, just based on having that all-round holistic ability, whether it's to score a chance himself or to lay a chance on for another player. So,
I mean, these are his stats so far. So Premier League's 2, appearances 12, goals 9, assists 3. Europa League appearances 4, goals 2, assists 1. So
well, at one time, wasn't he something like 61 minutes and 2 goals?
Yeah,
I remember that
in the knockouts. So first thing here, so from Mohamed was first half he won't score, mid-second half he will be turn up. Not sure why, but we will get it done. Do we agree?
I mean, I would like to think we get it done, but I certainly don't want us to be leaving it to half time to score. No,
No.
I'd be disappointed.
It happening though.
Maybe, yeah, but just maybe with nerves. But I think the confidence from the Sheffield United game, and it's not just the fact that we won, it's the way that we played. I don't know if anyone watched Match of the Day, but it was just like consistently getting numbers in the box, consistently using the ball quicker, taking less touches, quick, neat interchanging play in the final third more. I really feel that was like a precursor to how Arteta wanted the team to play this Thursday. And I'm confident if we start like that, we can score in the first 45 minutes. And I think it's in our best interest to do that.
Yeah, I agree.
Sorry, wrong button.
I also think we started straight off against Sheffield United, and if we kick off and go for them, we're quite capable of doing it. It's just the way we've been so slow to start in so many games. You know, we've thought many a time, right, this is it. It's an important game. Let's get into them. And was it Mohamed that said it's partway through the second half where we get the job done, because we're going in at half time, really, and it means a talking to from the manager to get the guys completely focused. I don't know whether it's nerves, lack of focus, lack of belief sometimes, and it takes the second half before we can get the job done. And I think for all of us, we'd like to have the job done by half time.
Oh, 100%. So talking obviously about youth, obviously with Balogun and that. So what are we going to feel about Guendouzi? Obviously his time at Hertha Berlin's obviously been quite a nice little treat for him. So how do we feel about Guendouzi? Mr. King?
I think he's got undeniable quality, but personally, for me, he's on that list of players that I think he's got a year on his contract, or maybe is it a year or 2 years? I'm not sure.
I think he's got 2.
Yeah, but I just think, for me, what I've seen in some games, I don't know if you remember that Chelsea got when Hazard scored, when he just did that absolutely amazing run, like went through us. If you replay that goal, this was like one of the guys who was meant to be kind of going to either box, and you just watch him, you know, it's just running like it's just very pedestrian, you know, like if he's one of those players that, for me, he's got good quality, but he's not a player that, if I looked at our squad and I needed someone for when we're in the trenches, I'm not picking him. You know, like when he'll sing when you're winning, but his head drops when he hits adversity. And I'm not just talking about his performances, I'm talking about his attitude and his application. You know, he's gone at managers, he's gone at the new manager, you know, in Germany, and the one that got sacked. He's fallen out with both of them.
Yeah.
You know, he's fallen out with Arteta. You know, even Emery, who gave him his Spurs, you know, he clashed with repeatedly. And then just the stuff he does on the pitch, you know, like is ill discipline as well.
Yeah.
I think the one with Brighton, you know, grabbing someone's throat and boasting about how much more money you make than these players. It's just for me, I just think there's that lack of professionalism and that lack of grit and determination. And you could have one of those problems and deal with them with a player that's maturing, but it's like both, and it's consistent and repeated incidents, you know. And I think for what money we could get for him, and it looks like Torreira doesn't want to stay.
No,
you know,
I think
he wants to go back to South America.
Yeah, unfortunately.
I'd be of the mind of see what we can get for those guys. Get someone who wants to be there, and get someone who's got the right attitude, and get someone with better quality and a bit more experience. You know, like mid to later 20s. You know, with a bit more caliber. You know, I see that being possible if Torreira doesn't want to stay, and if we sold him. You know, I see 40, 50 million there. You know, between those two.
Just a question.
That's going to get you. That would have got you our last summer.
Yeah.
You know, for example. You know, so I don't deny his quality. I just think he's got a few lessons in life to learn and on the pitch. And I'm kind of the mind now that we can't be having managers and players learning things. We need people that know their stuff, you know, that are ready, that are hungry, and that have got the right attitude, and whose heads won't just drop, you know, as soon as stuff hits the fan, you know. I just think overall the team needs more leadership and it needs more determination. So I just don't see him fitting that mold, if I'm honest.
I mean, these are the stats that Hertha Berlin compares to Arsenal for the current 2 seasons. So he's played 24 at Arsenal, played 22 at Hertha, 1 goal at Hertha and 0 at Arsenal. Both got assists in each team. I mean, he's pretty consistency with Arsenal, if I'm honest. I mean, would we not want to give him 1 more year to just kind of see how he fits in with Mikel Arteta with the midfield that we've got, or would you just want to say no, cut our losses and sell on?
I think there's a shout there to sign him on a long-term contract and then get him out on loan again and get him in the shop window, because he's going to progress. He's going to get better. I completely agree with what Kingy said. And if we end up selling him and getting what we can for him, that's not going to be much of a problem. I think it's a good thing to do. But equally, on the other side of the coin, I think we could also leave him out on loan for 1 or 2 years, let him get him set up in maybe staying at Hertha, so he has 1 season, then he has a follow-up season in the German league, and then maybe we can command either a bigger price for him, or he matures enough where he can come back in the team. But I definitely agree, he can't walk back into the team now, because he's got to either mature, change his attitude. But to do that, I think we've got to extend his contract and maybe pay him a bit more. I don't know. That's generally what happens.
So just a question.
I think Hertha have come out and said, just quickly to interject there, sorry, but I think they've said that they've categorically ruled out the possibility of extending the loan. They've said they don't want him back. Yeah. So it'd be a case of finding another club if we went down that route as well.
Yeah,
which is possible, definitely.
Just touching base on what King was saying. So if you were to sell him, so sell Guendouzi and Torreira, would you then, if you can get, say, 40, 50 million, would you rather go for Aurora, or would you want to go for like a Basuma, sorry?
Can we have Odegaard?
I'd definitely say Basuma. You know, I think Partey needs, you know, I think Xhaka has got better, but you know my thoughts on him. It's just there's always that mistake in him, and I think if he's the sort of player that has someone that can compete with him, then maybe those mistakes shorten. You know, I think, you know, both discipline-wise and with his form. So I think I look at that part of the pitch needing strengthening now that we've got Odegaard, we've got ESR coming through, we've got Saka, we've got Pepe, we've got Martinelli. You know, we've got Willian on still on our books. We've got Lacazette, Aubameyang. Yeah, I mean, I think I look at Partey and Xhaka, and then maybe after that El Neni. Is El Neni credible? I think he's underrated, El Neni, personally. That's another aside for me personally. But what I would say is, even in that case, I would want 4 centre mids to compete, you know, at the least, you know, like maybe, you know, with El Neni being the outsider and then 3 really pushing for 2 positions. If you want to play with 2 pivots behind another number 10, which invariably we're going to want to do most of the time, right, in the Premier League. You know, so I would definitely say Basuma. I think another good option would Buendia at Norwich. I've just been watching this guy, and he's another one that can play either as a number 8 or a number 10. It doesn't really bother him. You know, maybe he'd be slightly better at number 10, but he's got some serious quality. But Basuma will give you that steel and that energy and that athleticism. And I feel we need that. You know, I think Xhaka's good in a deep position, but I wouldn't say his main attributes are his athleticism. I would say they're more his, you know, his passing range. And yeah, I mean, I would pick out his passing range personally. So, you know, I think, yeah, Basuma would be the one for me, definitely.
Yeah, I think I'd go more for Basuma initially. But also, the only reason I mentioned Odegaard then was because top of my list would be Odegaard, and we're going to have to probably cough up 40, 50. I don't know what Real Madrid will want, but I'm guessing it won't be less than 40.
His release is 350 million.
Well, if a player wants to go, you know, we've seen it before, whether we can do anything and get him in, but we're going to have to save some serious cash, so we might have to sell a lot of players just to get him, and he's top of my list first and foremost. If we can improve on Xhaka, obviously I'd like to. If we could improve on Partey, I mean, all the players, if you sell any of the players and improve, that's what we all want to do. But how many improvements are there out there on Xhaka? Because Xhaka's been playing very well lately. It was interesting, just to interject there, if you've seen the mic that he had when he was at Sheffield Wednesday the other night, if you've seen that, he's forever talking to Martinelli all the way through. Gabby, it's all he's talking about. Come short, go wide, lack a move. And I know with the Nigerian, he wanted him out the club, never. But for me, he was masterful, the way he was talking to everybody. And there was also a bit when, after I think it was the first goal, and everyone crowded round, there's a point where he says, "Don't go, stay." And then more people came. And then he was saying, "Right, this is where we go for it. We go now, boys. We go now." And you know, he was the captain that night. And so I like Xhaka if we can improve on him. But I don't know. We bought improvements before and they fell flat on the face. So
I've always liked Xhaka, and I've always felt, I'll get into, like, because it's been a love-hate, like it's been a tumultuous relationship, like my following of Xhaka. Like, the first thing that I've spent years defending about Xhaka is the role he was bought to play at Arsenal is not the role he is. So I see him as a deep line playmaker. You know, just because someone's a number 8, there's a vast, infinite number of ways in which you can play the number 8 role. You know, so you get your box-to-box players, you get your CDMs, you know, you get, you know, your deep line playmakers. I see him as a deep line playmaker. You know, he's He's got good vision and really good passing ability. And yeah, you're right. You know, he does have that kind of overall kind of leadership quality, and he does communicate well and help others around him understand where they need to be and what they need to be doing. But equally, I think what Nigerians said can't be ignored. I think what I said earlier about leadership in our team and feeling that it lacks. I mean, you know, I know it's gone, it happened, and it's water under the bridge, but for someone to be a captain of Arsenal Football Club, you know, to be a captain of this great football club, to be substituted off, to say what they said to fans, to take off their armband and throw it on the floor. Look, I get it. You know, like players, he's one of those players that does get singled out a lot when he makes mistakes. But again, it's similar to Guendouzi. There's just a level of professionalism that not only should be expected of Arsenal Football Club, but any football club, right? You know, and I think you can be aggrieved you're taken off. You know, we see players, they shake hands with the manager, they go off, they go towards the bench, they kick a water bottle, they punch the seat or whatever. You know, they sit there, they don't look happy, and that's fine. Managers will come out. Managers will come out and defend that player. They'll say, look, that's the right mentality. I don't want a player to come off when they're subbed and be happy. You know, that's totally fine. You know, that's an elite mentality, and to a degree he does have that. But what he has is a rush of blood, and that rush of blood impacted the decision he made with that armband, and it affects decisions. Like when I talk about that cycle that him and Luis have, that's what happens. It's just like that momentary lapse where it just goes, you know, like where just the miss kicks in, and some, like, the consequence of it often can be very dire. And again, you know, I think when you look at his sendings off and the nature of his sending off and these discipline issues, they all have that kind of hallmark, if you see what I mean, whereas there's been a number of years. And so that's why I just think, I don't think sell him. You know, I think he's definitely got quality, and he's definitely got experience and a lot to teach and to give to these younger players. But he needs to be kept on his toes, like with someone credible there that can be like, right, you know, if something like this happens, it's not going to be so quick you'll get back on the pitch, because someone will come that's got the quality to keep you on the bench again. And you'll think twice if that armband ever goes around your arm again. Yeah, to ever do something so petulant, you know, and so disrespectful. And he needs that. And the thing is, he's one of those players, and Guendouzi, they're these players that they need that. They need a rocket, you know, and like behind their backside, you know. So they can't feel comfortable. They can't feel as if their position or, you know, their regard in the team is just a given. And I think for too long, Xhaka's had that. You know, I think when there's been these lapses in his performance or his professionalism, it's just been like, well, a week later you go back in. I mean, you look like a few weeks before, Pepe got sent off against Leeds, was it? Alioski, when he moved his head. He moved his head to headbutt him, right? Now, look, he shouldn't have tried to headbutt him, but Alioski made a massive meal about it. You know, he's gone to ground as if someone shot his kitten. And Arteta's response was to say that for Pepe, there was no play. Like he threw Pepe under the bus. You know, to be honest, rightly so. Yeah, you know, he threw Pepe under the bus for not being professional in that moment, and that cost him the team. And then a few weeks later, Xhaka's done the same thing, got kicked to the ground, but he's got up and he's actually put his hand around someone's throat. Yeah, and then Arteta's post-match interview was to be like, well, Xhaka's under duress. You know, there's stress there. There's mitigation. There's circumstances. It's like, what's worse? Trying to headbutt someone, not quite making it, and the player making a meal of it and going to the ground, or you getting up from the ground from a 50-50 challenge, turning round and grabbing someone by the throat.
Yeah.
What's worse?
Just going dive into these questions, as we've got a few. So Jason says, anyone else noticed that the team also did the whole not turning up in the first 45 minutes with Emery as well? Is it something within the squad itself and not the management?
Could very well be. It is a point, and it's a good point, because with Emery, we went on a long run.
22.
We never scored before half time, and we never went in the lead either. You know, during that run where we were scoring second half goals, and I think we were like behind 6 times at half time and only maybe once by half time being ahead. So there definitely is something in that, and that's what I'm saying about the squad being slow starters, and that's a worry for your point about let's get at them straight away tomorrow night. It's not an attribute that they've shown that they've got a lot of, only in odd games. The majority of the time they have been slow to start.
And I think any team grows in confidence, you know, the longer that they know it's just 45 minutes to go and, you know, it stays like this, we're through, you know, that galvanizes teams, you know, like that basically makes teams feel, you know, that they're closer to the finish line. We just need to, I think our best chance is just taking any opportunity for any of that form of galvanizing to be on the table by just being a bit gung-ho in the first 10 or 15 minutes. You know, even if it means we don't break through and we go back to being a bit more probing again, but we've psychologically shown them a pace and an intensity of the game we can play at. And, you know, even if we take a bit of a breather and we haven't scored in the first 20 minutes, you know, and just get to half time at 0-0 and then you come back out of the traps again, I think it's got to be in that order. And it is a concern, you know, for a long time, you know, starting games slowly,
too long,
and taking too long to ask questions has become a bit of a hallmark.
I also think that's quite key that we have the young lads. Why Martinelli's got to start, because he'll start at 100 mile an hour. Saka will start at 100 mile an hour. Pepe has been playing well and showing some form. And then the only, should we say, elder statesman then you've got in that front line is Laka, because if you end up with Willian, Oba and Laka, we will definitely lack that pace and urgency that we need to kick off with tomorrow night, and which is why I went for my team. Whereas the youth got Emery out of the mire, and the youth got Arteta out of the mire when he suddenly started at Christmas. Once ESR came into the team, and Saka, that's the point. That it could happen with the youth, but if he goes with an older, experienced front line, I don't think it will. It'll go back to the slow starts.
Respectfully, I don't know what I'm going to do if I see Willian on that first team sheet tomorrow, starting that game in the nicest way possible. And the thing is, I can just see it. I can see him, you know, because he does seem to lean towards really valuing experience. It was only ESR, when he brought ESR into the team, it was only by virtue of everyone being injured. And we have been clamoring for ages, get this man on the pitch, get this man on the pitch. Martinelli, exactly the same situation. You know, it's only again when he's been backed into a corner with people being injured, you know, ESR and Oba not being fit, Odegaard not being fit, when he was like, well, I suppose I better play Martinelli. But if he starts Willian tomorrow, Willian doesn't impact the game.
Last two comments. So Mohammed says, Mateo Guendouzi is a baller, just needs to grow up a bit. And he also says, if we sell him, he'll be another Sergio Gnabry. Do we agree?
We were saying off air before, we can't look at all the youth players and be afraid of a Serge Gnabry with all the youth. We are going to have to move some youth on. Some won't make it, and some might leave and make it elsewhere. If we base a Serge Gnabry scenario to all our youth players, we're never going to let any youth players go again. I think so. We've got to pick. We've got a good bunch. And I think we've got to be clever and talk to these guys because, you know, we want to know what their attitude's like, what their ambitions are. You know, it's where Edu and the recruitment team and the operations team get involved with them. And I think find out what makes them tick and lead them down the right road. And then we can pick the best of the bunch, and then the others can well get a good career elsewhere. But you know, if we worry about Serge Gnabry, we're never going to let anybody go.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think hindsight's always a wonderful thing, right? I mean, if we go back to when Serge Gnabry was moved on, he didn't want to renew our contract. We tried everything in our power to get him to sign. So it's not like we shut him out. You know, it's not like he had done anything on the level that Guendouzi has in terms of like the incidents that I've referred to earlier.
Yeah.
Gnabry's situation was, I don't think, directly comparable at all. You know, like this was a guy again that we thought we wanted to get in the team. He just had better players in front of him at the time, and he didn't want to be patient. And you know, look, you know, that's paid off for him. But you know, I think, you know, you look at Oxlade-Chamberlain by opposite. Okay, he's won trophies, but you know, has he got more game time going to Liverpool than he would staying at Arsenal? I don't think so, personally. You know, and I don't think Klopp's given him the patience that Wenger has. It can go both ways. But I just think, again, the main thing that you've got to look at is these aren't isolated incidents I'm talking about. These are repeated incidents of a similar nature, of behavior you wouldn't want to be excusing in your squad. And also the fact that he's gone head to head with the manager, Arteta, twice. You know, like there were two fallings out. There was the one where he brought him back in because they went on that training, was in Dubai.
Yeah.
You know, he had a spat there, made up with Arteta, and then went to Brighton, did what he did. So after the managers put confidence in him again, well, how's he repaid it, right? And then he's gone, you know, I'm not going to go for it again because, you know, this is what I'm saying, you know, like how many more, where do we draw a line, you know? And I think sometimes it's just better. It can just be, the player can be good, but the environment and the ethos of the team and the player and their ethos, they just don't, they're not a good bedfellows. And I think I think Arteta would need to draw a line under everything that's already happened, and Guendouzi would have to be prepared to realise that this sort of stuff, it can't happen anymore. And it's not like, you know, if he had gone out on loan and his record in a disciplinary sense and his form on the pitch had been exemplary, squeaky bum, you know, that you'd seen a change in attitude, then I'd be like, yeah, I'd be all for it. I'd want to welcome him back. But the last few games he's not really played. He's been in and out again because his form's been brought into question. Have they brought Cabra back? I think it is.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, and he's taken his spot and is making his own again, and that's when, you know, he starts making these comments and saying these things. And I think sometimes you just got to look more at the player's quality. You've got to weigh in on with his attitude as well. And, you know.
So, I mean, with Guendouzi, for me, I mean, when he was playing for us, I could see what he was trying to do, and I understand what Unai and Mikel was trying to get out of him. I do think he does need to mature up a little bit more. I would say I would want to give him one more year at Arsenal, just as a rotational purpose only, just to sort of, you know, see how he is. And then I think if after that year he's still, you know, hot-headed, you know, not listening to Mikel, it's still falling out, then yeah, 100% cut losses, get him gone. There's a few things I've seen from him that I like, and I just want to see what he could
more
bring.
of that.
Yeah, especially with the youth coming in now. Obviously, we've got quite a lot of youth coming in. Maybe they can kind of show Guendouzi what to do, and obviously maybe hopefully get the best out of him, because ultimately that's what we need, really. And we need the depth with our team, because with all the injuries that we seem to be getting. But just going on to our last subject for tonight was what do you feel? Do you feel this is Mikel Arteta's make or break season? Do you think this is where he will be either next getting his
No,
P5 or
no, I don't think it's a make or break season. I think they're looking at him long term, unless he completely implodes with the team. I think he's got a few years, but I think we've been crying out for years, because we've seen, as an Arsenal fan for the last 10 years, I feel that I've been watching a blooming of a youth team, and then they get sold, or they moved on, or they get injured. And we seem to be on this rotation of bringing in youth, but we've never really moved on under the last few years of Arsene, with Emery. It's all a new project. We seem to be perpetually in a new project. And it'd be nice now if we can say, right, well, we started with a project. This is the short and long-term goal. These are the players we're going to move in. These are the areas we want to work in. And I'm sure that's what Edu and Mikel are working on. And that's how they're looking at things. And as long as the board can see that, I think they will back them. Whether it's they give him just this season, I think they'll give him longer. But it's not acceptable where we are this season, and he needs to be carpeted and say this will not happen again.
GunnerKing?
Yeah, I think I agree. I think there's a number of factors in it. First of all, I don't think Kroenke brought this guy in for the short term. I think Edu's come out and said their expectations are on the 22-23 season. They've said that the rebuild that they see being necessary to be competitive again would be that time. And when you look at the quality of the squad when he walked in, and the number of players he's had to move on this season, looking at our squad and probably looking at a few players and thinking they need to be moved on in the summer as well. Looking at how hamstrung he's been with budgets, I think that they had a plan that was to back him that was severely affected by COVID and people not attending him. So it's like, look, it's going to be X. And when he first came in 2019, I think it was, and then being like, look, in this summer it's going to be Y. And then obviously when the summer just gone came, we had been in lockdown, people hadn't been in stadiums. It wasn't looking like for the next 12 months or the whole season that people would be back in the stadiums. So I think they still had the plan to move on the players, but that impacted the budget that they gave him. And that impacted the need to move those players on before he bought in the players he wanted.
Yeah.
I think this season, I think it would just be harsh to judge him on this season. Yes, he's made mistakes. Yes, he makes some decisions that just make me want to smash my head against a wall sometimes. We spoke about Willian. We've spoken about indifferences with Pepe and Xhaka's treatment. For me, I think it's good he's come in with a system, but sticking to it when it's clearly obvious that the players he has aren't necessarily best equipped to execute that system. Yes, that frustrates me. But at least he's got an idea of what he wants to do. He needs time to do it. And I just think bringing in another manager now and just chopping and changing again and sometimes change for change's sake isn't actually productive. I think I don't like to talk about United or compare our trajectory to them, but Ole's definitely had to. I love using this phrase, but he's had to crack a few eggs to make an omelette. I think when we look at the beginning of his managerial tenure, and you know, obviously I still see cracks in that. But if we look at it at the beginning, it was just dead. You know, it's terrible. I mean, Klopp was the same. But then, you know, if we look at those two teams, what happened was in January, Manchester United bought someone in like Bruno, 16 goals and 11 assists this season. Last season, from January onwards, from that January to this January, that team won more points than anyone in the Premier League. You know, their away record spoke for itself. You look at a similar January 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, I think it was, when when Liverpool bought Van Dijk in January. They were awesome going forward, terrible at the back. You know, they bought that Van Dijk and then they brought Alisson in goal. And people can tell me what they want about Liverpool signings. You know, they've signed some great players under Klopp. Those two for me were the key. That changed everything. You know, you only need to look at what they went and did afterwards, you know, to see what difference those three players made to their two teams respectively. I don't feel Arteta's had an opportunity to sign game changers.
Yeah.
You know, Partey's a good player.
Partey is the one that I think, and I think Odegaard will be, if we can get him. And I think then his plan will start, because you can almost take this last season out, because we've had COVID, we've had empty stadiums, we've had to get rid of a lot of players. I'm not going to call them dead wood, but it's just gone. Let's just pack it away, forget about it. We take a year out, sort of thing, and then we're back on it next year. And I think if we can get a couple of signings of the quality you're talking about, in places where we need leaders, or we need somebody who's going to drive the team forward, I think we can then get back on the road, because I don't expect us to pull trees up next year either. But I do definitely expect a huge improvement on the squad and the way we play, because now we can't keep saying trust the process and say that we're starting to play how Arteta wants to play. We've got to start doing it every week. Because now, next season, now the players who are there know what system they're in. Because he's sticking with the 4-2-3-1 system. It looks like that's nailed in now. If necessary, he can move that to a 5 or a 3, or however he wants to jiggle it. But to me, the players know, and he likes to put 2 in front of that back 4. So everybody knows then, and I'm sure they do it in training. So there's no excuse now. I think we can't keep trusting in the process. We're now going to have to start seeing this happening. I think this year, though, just wipe it off completely.
Yeah. I mean, it's sad, but it's just the reality, really.
It is, absolutely.
And I think, if you look at the beginning of the season to December, you know, I think from December onwards, from that Chelsea game, from ESR coming in to now, that's when you started to see the right mixture of the youth and the experience, and him being a bit more ruthless with the players he needed to be ruthless with. And so now, taking that into the summer, you know, again, you know, I think, you know, the players I spoke of United and Liverpool, they're not just good players, they're leaders. You know, I think there's an argument that Bruno could be a captain over Maguire. I definitely think Van Dijk is captain material. Alisson might not be captain material, but he has leadership qualities in making that defence solid when he has Van Dijk around him, when he has help around him. I think we need to be looking at not just at quality. We need characters. We need leaders. You know, we need men. We need fighters. You know, we need people like Adams, people like Vieira, Petit, Carla, you know, you know, we need like people like Dixon, people like Seaman, people like Ian Wright. You know, we need.
That's a different generation.
Yeah, but that's it. You know, I think we sign good players, but But I think what the Nigerian Englishman said about, I think maybe saying the captaincy has been disrespected, maybe I would put it differently. I would just say, I haven't seen a captain of the stature in our team of Vieira since Vieira. That's a big problem.
Yeah.
You know, like,
my argument with Xhaka is that he's the best of the lot, because at the moment our captain has to be. We can't bring a captain in from anywhere yet, and the chances are we're not going to sign a captain. That's not going to go down well with the squad, to bring somebody fresh in who walks in and he gets the captaincy. I don't think that'll go down well. So who have you got then? And you've only got a few. I agree, Tierney is definitely one for the future, but I also think the best we've got, and I think that cam and microphone that he had on him, if you haven't watched it, it's just the way he said, "Don't go," and he kept them there to say, right, this is where we're pushing on, you know, and it was then, and then it was really let's go, and you know, and he was saying this is good football, this is how we play football. When they did that good move to get the first goal, and that is the best leadership I've seen in the squad we've got. I think Bellerin makes a bit of a noise. Holding's been captain, makes a bit of noise, but I keep saying it. I just think Xhaka's the only one we can have.
Yeah. Look, you know, it's you know what I said as well about I've got a certain elitism about where the captain should be, and it should be in the centre of midfield or the centre of defence. And so, you know, there's so much. If it wasn't, I know it can seem like there's an element of pettiness in how I'm thinking about that one incident. If you took that away, I'd be 100% with you. You know, like, because I just think that's a massive thing to overlook. But in terms of the qualities, you know, like as a footballer, but also, you know, in his communication, and you know, there is a doggedness to him. You know, he does hate losing, and he is. You know, he's very, you know, he definitely gives 100%. You know, like when he wears the shirt. You know, it's just
if he can forgive and play, then shouldn't we forgive and let him play? Because he was going, he walked off that pitch, and I'm sure in his own mind he was never going to play for us again. And it was only when Arteta sat him down and said, "You've got a future, put this behind you." And then not long after, his form started to pick up, and and we've actually missed him in the latter part of the season. And so the only point I'm making about him now is if he can forgive us, then we should forgive him, because he's at what his family's been through. And
look,
60,000 people booing and jeering him. You know, my wife's booed and jeered me a few times, but I don't know what 60,000 is like.
Yeah, before that happened, you know, the whole thinking he's a deep line playmaker, being asked to play as a holding midfielder, I would defend him to the absolute hilt. You know, like literally, if you had spoken to me and known me then, you would have seen it. You know, like I would have been going up against anyone, defending him. You know, like, but I think also, if we compare Xhaka's leadership qualities to Vieira's, I know Vieira's just one of a kind. You know, like, you know, they don't come by much. But if you look at that team that Vieira played in, if Vieira didn't play, Petit could be, you know, Petit could be captain. Yeah, like, you know, if they didn't play, like, then, you know, there was so many options, and there were so many more leaders overall in that team.
Absolutely.
Like, I think at the moment, it's like, with Xhaka not being up to that stature, and I'm not expecting any or every player to be as good a captain as Vieira. But when you lose that stature, it's almost like the rest of the team has to make up for it. And I just think, if anything, we've slowly over the years not just detracted in the quality in the one leader we have. In our whole 11, the number of players that you would consider or could call leaders has reduced significantly. I mean, Aubameyang got it just by virtue of being a good player. He's never been a captain at any other club.
Very true.
In all of the 27 or 28 years he had played before he came to Arsenal, never captained any club, I don't think, apart from his country. Again, by virtue of being their best player. Is he a leader? Lacazette is definitely becoming a lot more of a leader, I would say. I'm really...
Definitely.
Yeah, but I just want to see... I want there to be 3 or 4 options, like good top leaders. And yeah, I'd want to see us work towards that a bit more.
Okay, guys. Well, I'm going to have to end the show here because we've gone a little bit over our times. But there will be a reaction show tomorrow after the game. Hopefully, all smiles and all cheers all around. Hopefully. There will be another GunSlingerz show next Wednesday, and we have a special guest joining us. Featuring Lee Cannaville. He's a youth academy at Arsenal. He played with all. He didn't play, but obviously was there when Thierry, Robin Canu. So it's going to be a great insight. So please tune in. And if you haven't done so already, hit that like button and smash the sub button. And we'll see you all next week. Bye.
We are Arsenal. We love Arsenal.
Oh yes,
We are Arsenal.
no mercy.